Welcome to the Aim for Success podcast. I'm Joni, Neidigh, a licensed psychotherapist and certified clinical hypnotist and trainer. I'm also the founder of Aim for Success and Joni Neidigh Hypnosis. I've been practicing for over 27 years, and I'm excited about sharing my experiences and those of my guests. Be sure and check out my websites, aim-for-success.com and JoniNeiddighHypnosis.com to learn more about my services and products. I also invite you to check out my store, aim-store.net. As a gift to you for listening to this podcast, use the code SUCCESS to receive 25% off your first self-hypnosis audio purchase. You are listening to episode 5 of the Aim for Success podcast featuring David Gapinski. David swims for Loggerhead Aquatics here in Jacksonville, Florida. He continues to make progress as a competitive swimmer and has been willing to put his time and energy into working towards being the best athlete he can be physically, technically, and mentally. David continues to work with me to learn mental toughness techniques and strategies that will keep him moving forward. Listen as we talk about David's swim family, his recent success and move to a new level, and how we work together at meets. Hear him describe how he worked through the death of his coach and has volunteered and created a fundraiser to continue to support that coach's dreams to help people learn to swim. Hi, everyone. I'm here today with David Gapinski. He's a swimmer, and he swims currently for Loggerhead Aquatics. And you might be familiar with him if you've seen any of my interviews or my trainings, because he's been generous enough with his time to help me to demonstrate some of the techniques that we use here in my office, on Zoom or FaceTime, or even at meetings and also trainings that we've done with Ryan Murphy and at his facility at Loggerhead Aquatics as well. So, David, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your time with us today.
No problem.
I know that you just got out of the pool. So was that an early morning practice for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. and it's summer. So that's, for people who aren't as familiar with the sport of swimming, there's a lot of dedication that goes into the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including giving up activities that you would normally do in high school, and even sometimes it's a lot of juggling with family activities, right?
Mm-hmm. So,
and I think that just sort of opening this conversation up with you, that's one of the things that I really admire about your family. You're a swim family for sure, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about your family, because everyone in your family has served in and been involved in the sport of swimming in some way. Could you just briefly tell us about that?
Yeah. My parents both swim masters. They're both officials for swimming, and my brother and sister both swam from a very young age till they were through high school.
And so, and your brother is currently working with, is it Master Swimming? U.S.
Yeah.
Master Swimming?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, so it's so interesting how connected you all are. And I know that your sister has decided to, she's going to college, and she's decided that to end her swim career. And that's an issue, and it comes up, and it's a decision that every swimmer that starts at a very young age or otherwise has to make. And it can be difficult. So that is just something, at some point I want to interview some of the swimmers, some of the athletes that I've had that have made the decision to leave their sport, and also the coaches as well. Because you've been so immersed in this sport, literally in the pool, and the sport involves using all five senses. It's unique that way. And that, you have the auditory, the sounds above and below the water. You've got the visual, and it's such a visual, isn't it? It's got that bright blue color of the water.
Yeah.
And just the way the pool looks, whether it's short course or long course, it's connected that way. And along with the crowds, and I think about, the smell of the chlorine, right?
Yeah, the chlorine.
Yeah, I mean, you would miss that, right? It would be kind of odd not to smell that for a while. And then, we know that swimmers taste water, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything else that comes with it, I'm sure. But also there is that feel, that kinesthetic. There's a distinct feel, not only in the water, or the feel of the water, but with each stroke, it's a different feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that, I want that to kind of lead into, when did you first start swimming? When did you first start engaging all these five senses into this sport of swimming?
When I was 7 or 8, about. I don't know the exact age that I was. Somewhere around there.
And being the youngest in the family, right? Were
Mm-hmm.
you just, was it just a natural part of the family dynamic, or did you have a desire, if you remember, to get in the water?
Back then, it was just kind of a natural family thing. Like, we all did it, so.
Okay. And you live in the neighborhood where, where the facility and where your club is located, right?
Yes.
I do recognize and appreciate the importance of community pools and opportunities that are close in proximity for young people. And so I think it's great that you got your start that way. And so fast forward, right, to now.
Yeah.
And you're in, what year of high school will you be entering?
11th.
And so you're also, in addition to club swimming, and you're in a higher group in your club swimming. And in fact, you've just achieved an even higher level with USA Swimming and the meets that you're eligible for. You're now also have to switch gears in August and swim high school swimming along with that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's very different, isn't it? Because you have a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So how is that juggling both?
For me, it's not particularly that bad because we have high school practice in the morning before school, and then we have club practice after school.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't conflict most of the time. It's mainly just finding time to do schoolwork and then get to bed on time because you got to be up in the morning.
Right. And that is a swimmer problem and an athlete problem, isn't it, for student athletes? Because
Yes.
you are juggling so much. But you do a great job. You've done an amazing job, and I'm really, really proud of you. But it isn't, it's not something that everyone would choose. So,
Yeah.
And then I think also not just choosing that, but choosing to be excellent at it, at balancing and also being excellent at the sport and school. And so congratulations on all of that you've achieved so far.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the most recent meet that you had. You've come a long way. We started working together. Do you want to tell everyone how we met?
How we met?
Yes, the first time, I believe the first time that I met you was at, I did a talk at Loggerheads, and your coach at the time, John DeLifus, invited me to come over and talk to the parents and the team. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And so we just met, briefly. I met as many people as I could afterwards. It's a larger crowd. And so at that time, Sean and I, we were very, very good friends. And I had met him when he was very young, and he was an assistant coach to on a team that my girls were a part of. And so it was very interesting to watch him progress. And he had a real, as a coach, which I love, had a real thirst for learning, not only about the physical and technical side of developing swimmers, because he was certainly passionate about the sport of swimming, but also incredibly invested and concerned about the mental side. And so he approached me and said, I have this idea. And I was already working with athletes, but he wanted to make this bigger. He just thought that I needed to get out of my office and onto pool decks, and we needed to start working together. And so we would meet here in my office, which he really liked. He was very interested in hypnosis and what that could do for the sport as well. And so that's how you and I met, and through my good friend and your good friend and coach as well. So, but then what happened after that? Can we talk about that? Kind of what happened after that and how we ended up getting connected? What you remember?
I remember that you were working with Anna, my sister.
Yes.
And then one day my mom just brought me with her, and
yes,
there we were.
There you were, and now you're still here. And and it's great. And Anna was really fun to work with, because she went from just wanting to make states, maybe have a second swim, to 5th place that year. And so that was really good. And so I think that was good for you to see that whatever was happening was working whenever she put the time into it. So since you came along, you've put the time into it, and you've been invested in it, from that time, and you still are. And I'm relentless, so I'm pretty sure we'll keep working together. So are you.
Yeah.
But we've seen some amazing drops for you, and obviously you've gotten stronger and you've been growing, but you've also just been really training that mental side, and you've had an excellent attitude from the get-go. I remember asking you who you wanted to be like. And you do have, I know that there's swimmers that you think a lot of, and you kind of, paid attention to what they do and what they don't do. But you really wanted most of all to be that best version of yourself, and David Gapinski. And I think it's interesting because your name, of course, is going to continue to become known. You're excited about swimming in college. And
Yes.
I can say personally that any coach would be very fortunate to have you, because you're so coachable and so trainable. Those are qualities that coaches are looking for, while they may be looking at times and, all the different variables that they need to look at. If they know that they're receiving an athlete that's already coachable and already has the mental toughness in place, that's really, really amazing for them. And so, I think you'll do well in your recruiting process, and it's going to be really exciting to see what happens with that. I did say we were going to talk about your most recent swim. Can you talk about this last meet and what you liked about it, and what went well, and maybe some of the changes you made even during the meet?
Well, this last meet was Saturday night. You gave me this new technique to use for Sunday.
Yes.
And I found that it worked really well, as you could tell. And it really improved my performance. I went a best time by over a second. in the two fly without any rest or anything. So
Well,
really,
that's fun, isn't it?
yeah.
And that technique was, important in terms of timing, because it can be so difficult to swim through, a meet like that where, there's some athletes that think I can't get a best time, or they just go in not really expecting to do well because they hear all these things and they know physically that they're broken down and their body is tired, but mentally they just decide it's just just kind of going through the motions type meet. And you took a different approach to that, and not being your championship meet, you were able to still come away with the best time. What I think is important is also to think about all the drops along the way that put you in that position at the sectional meet, because it's a big meet. I mean, not everyone is invited to the meet. First of all, they don't qualify. And then it's really difficult to make in terms of fast times, especially not being rested, to make finals, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the thoughts, or they may not be yours, but some of the things that you hear that are negative from other people, or even that you've thought about yourself going into a meet like that, or you have in the past? Because you're doing really well now.
I'm going to use a example of what Coach Mark used to always say to us when he talk about negativity or whatever,
That's
about how to.
Mark Corley.
Yes, Coach Mark. What he would tell us about staying positive in meets. He's like, you would say, nobody wants you to come over after your race and say, oh, that was a crappy race, except, and didn't want to, like, he said negativity spreads like wildfire, and as soon as somebody says something like that race stunk or I'm not going to do well, then everybody starts doing it.
Yep. It's like a little bit of poison, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so the great thing is that that you can almost put up an emotional shield to that negativity, because as you have no place in your swimming and your goals for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think is important for everyone to understand, is those are the types of things that I teach and I want athletes to learn, that you can't control that, whether a teammate or even someone on another team, or just, doesn't even have to be an athlete, but can, contribute some negativity, not necessarily intentionally, but it can be hurtful in terms of your goals if you don't know how to tune that out. And so, so I'm glad you mentioned that we did work on that technique. It's fairly new. I would say very new. It was used twice during the weekend for the first time. And I'm going to ask you to record that for me so that we can put it up for everyone to learn, if that's okay. If you wouldn't mind coming to my office one day and making that recording, it would be great.
All right.
Okay, so everybody heard it. He's committed, right?
Yes.
And so your swimming is going great. You're headed to the futures meet, and you have even higher goals than that. But for now, we're celebrating the fact that you qualified for that, and you'll be doing quite a bit of swimming there. Really looking forward to seeing what happens there. I know it's going to be great, and you do too.
Yes.
Recently, in the midst of all of this training, finishing up school, and all of the other things that you have to do. I mean, I know that in your home, there are expectations that your family has in terms of chores and things like that.
Yeah.
You still put together this incredible fundraiser. And so can you talk to me about how that started, what it was about? Just tell people what you did, because I know you plan on doing something again.
Yeah. So it started, my involvement with it started this summer when my mom had mentioned, hey, do you want to go down and help do some swim lessons for the Sean DeLifus Foundation, which For those of you who don't know what that is a foundation dedicated to my old age group coach, Coach Sean, who suddenly passed away when I was 12, about to turn 13. And it was always his dream to have a bunch of swim lessons for people that didn't know how to swim on the north side of Jacksonville, where so that people could basically learn how to swim there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was his dream. And with the foundation, they're now helping achieve that dream of his. And when I went, I spoke to his mother, Miss Joyce, and she had told me that they needed caps and goggles. So we decided to have a cap and goggle drive, and we basically asked people if they had old caps or old goggles that they weren't going to use, if we could have them and donate them to the foundation for swim lessons. And that's pretty much it.
And so, and you were successful.
Yes.
Yeah, and people really, once they heard about it, and you know, now this is a bigger sort of, you know, foundation or situation for you to be able to talk about it. Is it too late to donate?
No, it's never too late because they just can stockpile for next year, or they can, because they're almost done with lessons for this summer.
Yeah.
And so if they can have as many as they need, like they can never not have enough, because there'll always be new people the next year that don't have caps or goggles.
So for anyone watching and listening, just keep that in mind that they can always use these donations of caps and goggles. And this is a wonderful, wonderful contribution to be able to give those items to people who are learning how to swim, because we do want to make sure that, you know, anyone who wants to learn, and everyone needs to learn how to swim, especially living here near so much water, we want them to have that opportunity. Sean pushed us both to do something a little different, and I have a feeling we always will. You know, I will. You know, I understood his vision on the mental side. I'll never forget the last text that I got from him that said, when you all won the championship, the flags, right? And so that was probably the highest though that the team had been, right?
Yeah, that's the highest we've ever been. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was very, very excited, you know, returning from that trip, and sent me a text, and just, you know, was just pumped to do more, and you know, had this vision of things just being amazing. And so that's continued, I believe. You know, I think that was instilled in many people, and you are certainly one of them. And I know how proud he is and would be if he could be here with us. You can almost imagine exactly what he would say right now about how well you're doing. For those of you who are watching this, that's one of the things I talk about at conferences, that as helpers, you know, when we're helping athletes, the issues aren't always about times or places or, you know, goals. It's sometimes about working through also these kinds of things, because the loss of a coach and someone that's inspired you is very, very painful. So congratulations on that, doing that work, that voluntary, not only teaching the lessons, but going a step further. I think that's really, really amazing. Do you have your book by
Yes.
Okay, great. So this guide is, there we go. We can see it. The AIM Gold Medal Mental Toughness Success Guide is, and that is just that's the version for swimming, is something that we use quite often, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we forget the book, we can always, you know, work in session and then make sure that the information gets translated. But it's a great place for journaling. That's where we have all the reminders for the techniques. and we just put down everything that happens in the progression. So it'll be so interesting to continue to watch you evolve and see the changes that you make. One of the things we know is that with each new level comes new challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but you know what? You're proactively planning ahead for those things. And that is a much better way to do it than to get there and be caught off guard, so to speak. So what are you most excited about coming up? I know you have a vacation planned, and your family, that I didn't finish that earlier, but one thing I love about your family is you still integrate and make sure you have these family get-togethers and these vacations, and you still remain successful. You find a way to do that. So tell me about what's going to happen and how you do that.
Well, tomorrow I actually fly out. I'm flying up to Baltimore, and then from there I'm meeting my mom and my sister who already left this morning. They're driving up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Lucky you, though, to fly.
Yeah. Meeting them there, and then we're going to Avalon, which is the New Jersey, the Jersey Shore. So we'll be visiting like my whole family, like on my mom's side. Everybody will be there.
Nice.
We're all stuck in one ginormous beach house for a week.
Oh, well, at least it's ginormous. Because
Yeah.
That's good.
And I'll be swimming every day there at a pool that my mom found. So I'll be getting practices from my coach when we're swimming there. And then after that week is up, we're heading to New York to stay with my grandmother. And I'm also swimming there, but I'm only staying there for about 3 days because then I head down with my mom down to Greensboro for futures.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I've been to that pool. I love that pool, and I know that you're going to be really successful there. So I think you'll enjoy that. I really do. I know you will because you love racing, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. This last finals that I watched you, that was a great swim. I'm probably going to put some video up during this podcast so people can see that, because you had pretty good control of that heat and that swim. That went well. So can we get a view of that picture behind you? That's a great shot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Fun fact about that picture, that is from that 2 fly where I got my first futures cut.
Wow, that is a fun fact. That's a great fact. Thank you for showing us that. I just wanted to. Your brother took that, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so he's a pretty good photographer. Yeah, Andrew's his brother Andrew is great. He did some work for me over a summer or two, and he's always on call for some of my technological emergencies, I would call them. So I really appreciate that. That's the beauty of being close with swim families, and I'm very, very fortunate. I really appreciate you taking your time out before you're headed to jump on a plane tomorrow. Are you going to do a practice in the morning?
Yes, I'm swimming first.
You see the dedication here, everyone. So he's going to do a practice, jump on a plane. His mother, and I appreciate this because I had to do this all during my girls' swim career. Wherever we travel for vacation, we would have to find 2 things, a pool and a coach. And that can be challenging depending on where you are. The beauty of that is it shows you how self-motivated the athletes are, because you have your workout and you know you're not going to skip the workouts, or, and I'm sure some people would, but I know that you won't. And you also don't have any anxiety about that in terms of leading into your meet, because you've done it before and you've shown that it can work. And I hope athletes that are watching this will appreciate that, because a lot of times they miss out on what I think are important family activities, and it's not necessary. You can still do well and get off the beaten path, so to speak, a little bit, and make sure you still get in your training. I can't wait to post things after your meet and show everyone how it went and just share what you learned from it, because every time you go and race it, you learn something, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording here. And everyone, thank you for listening and watching. And just expect some updates about David and his championship meet and so much more after he starts high school season and on into short course season. So thank you so much for watching, everyone.
Thank you.